monthly market update. I'm here with my good friend,
Randy Williams, TBF Mortgage.
And we're just going to get into it, Randy, because today is going to be the day. It's all about you, Randy. It's all about mortgage, interest rates, economy, how that's affecting everything. So tell us what Nicole Bouchard has to say.
The biggest thing when we're looking for mortgage rates right now is volatility.
Yep. And if we look at this daily mortgage rate, this is from October. I'm probably going to have to get my glasses on, Randy, because that's what happens with these little bitty numbers. But it's from October of 23 to today. Look at where that has been all over the place.
Oh, I'm quite familiar with it. Yes.
Yes, I am quite familiar with it. Yes, not liking it. But what does Odetta Cushy have to say?
Every month brings a new set of inflation and labor data that can influence the direction of mortgage rates. Ongoing inflation deceleration, a slowing economy, and even geopolitical uncertainty can contribute to lower mortgage rates. On the other hand, data that signals an upside to risk to inflation may result in higher rates.
Yeah. So those are a lot of words that she's saying. It just means we got some volatility, right?
Most definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the point of today. I mean, I was watching just the regular news and it was talking about there's signs that look like we're in a really strong economy, but there's other things that aren't. And it's really hard as a consumer to really kind of understand that. What's NerdWallet saying?
Mortgage rates are influenced by many elements, including the inflation rate, the pace of job creation, and whether the economy is growing or shrinking. The Federal Reserve's monetary policy is a factor too, and it is set by the Federal Open Market Committee.
So it's not just the Fed, right? We've got a whole committee, and there's a bunch of things that go into it.
I agree. I was just watching TV about 2 hours ago, and they were talking about the inflation rate. And the whole conversation right now is not whether or not they're going to cut the rates. It is purely timing. That's all they're saying. Timing. They want to time it correctly. They want to learn from the past and not have it shoot back up.
And we do have a slide on that in a little bit, but let's get through a few more quotes that we've got here. Talk about what Forbes is saying.
Mortgage rates are indirectly influenced by the Federal Reserve's monetary policy. When the central bank raises the federal funds target rate, as it did throughout 22 and 23, that is a knock-on effect by causing short-term interest rates to go up. Yeah.
Yep. So again, more of a fact.
Right.
And this just happened on May 1st. What was that?
The committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25% to 5.5%. Unchanged. Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
And Federal Reserve, what was their statement?
The committee's assessments will take into account a wide range of information, including readings on the labor market conditions, inflation pressures, inflation expectations, and financial and international developments.
But I still struggle a little bit, and there's a few things that I struggle with, is our unemployment rate is really unchanged, and we're at one of the lowest. The average is 5.7% over the last from 48 to 2023. So how many years is that? 60 some odd years?
Yeah, they're
70, 80?
saying like the lowest unemployment over 50 years. Like everybody's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, with that, if that's the case, what is Danielle Hale telling us?
Today's cooler labor market data is a sign that mortgage rate relief could be on the horizon, but that will be dependent upon inflation. We may see unseasonably active summer and fall off if inflation improves and mortgage rates drop.
Yeah. Yeah, which kind of ties us into inflation. We were at, May of 22 at the height was a 8.9% inflation, and now we're down. I mean, it jumped up a little bit, but they want to get us down to 2%.
Well, you could take a look at this slide in another way. When inflation is as high as it is, those raising of mortgage rates and raising of federal rates did its job. It has reduced that inflation. And that's where, like I said, these are really smart people doing this. And it's about timing right now. It's not about when.
Not if.
Excuse me.
It's not
Correct.
if, it's when.
Right.
So with that said, what did Mike Frantantino, let me get that right, Frantantino say?
Yeah, the FOMC did not change the federal funds target as its May meeting. As the incoming data regarding to the strength of the economy and stubbornly high inflation have resulted in a shift in the timing of the first rate cut. We expect mortgage rates to drop later this year, but it's not far as fast as we previously predicted.
Yeah. We were thinking we were going to get a few. And we're going to talk about that to show you because we've been, repeating what we're getting in the information and what has been told to us. And we thought we were going to have one in May.
In previous years, as you go into previous election years, we've seen it. We've seen everything get better. And, this year, I think it's all going to come to inflation. I think that's what everybody's saying.
Yeah. And I don't say that it's not going to get better because quite honestly,
right.
It is an election year. Let's put it that way. Everybody wants to get to the best level of where they are so they can get back in policy. They can get back in everything that they want to do. What's Jerome Powell saying? We've got a few quotes for him today.
Reducing policy restraint too soon or too much can result in several reversal of progress. We have seen inflation and ultimately require even tighter policy to get inflation back to 2%.
Yep. And I do love this graph, right? This shows that the CPI history, pausing rate cuts of what they did. They thought they were going to get it back in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. They thought they were going to get it. And then if they did it too soon, what happened? It went up.
And here's another thing that most people aren't going to see, but where were those interest rates back then?
Those were, I don't know. In the 80s, I paid, 10, 14% on my first house.
So even though we saw those 3%, 7% is not a bad interest rate historically in this country. And too many people think it is.
Yeah. Well, when you come off the threes, what are you going to do?
Right.
So Jerome Powell continues on with.
My personal forecast is that we will begin to see further progress on inflation this year. I don't know that it will be sufficient. I don't know that it won't work. I think that we're going to have to let the data lead us on that.
So it's not if, it's when.
Right.
But we gotta look at the data.
Right.
Which I love this because this says 66% chance Fed cuts at the September meeting.
Right. It's just how much.
Yeah. How much? Mm-hmm. And this kind of gives you a perspective of who voted on what, right? Mm-hmm. Almost 50% thinks it's 25 basis points. 25 basis points is how much in a mortgage?
Like 0.1%, yeah.
Yeah, 0.1%.
Yeah.
So not a lot.
No, when they're going to cut this over the course of the next year, you're going to see your major rate cut in terms of mortgage and your actual affordability probably in the first quarter of next year. Like that's when we're really going to see that. But the first thing that has to happen is the Fed has to cut their rates first.
Yeah. Yeah. Same concept. This was odds of a September cut. When we had the April meeting or the beginning of April, what the analysts were saying was they were going to be a 90% cut. Mm-hmm. And then they went down over the month of April to a low of 45, almost 46% cut. Mm-hmm. And then it's coming back up that people now are thinking it's about a 69, almost 70% cut.
Okay.
I think that's, we may feel this way for a little bit more where we're going up and down on a roller coaster.
Well, I think like anything, it's a lot of little things, but the two major things are a lot of job creation and still the inflation is not where they want it.
Yeah.
When those numbers are where they need to cut, they will do it.
Yeah. From your lips to God's ears, Randy, from your lips. So Jerome Powell says, I think it's unlikely that the next policy rate will will be a hike. So we don't think it's going to be huge. It's going to be smaller.
Yeah, I don't think we're going the other way. I think it's just a matter of when we're going the right way.
Sure. And we all love this slide because these are the 2024 mortgage rate projections from Fannie Mae Mortgage Bankers Association and National Association of Realtors. And there we were saying that fourth quarter was going to have a 5 in the first digit. Mm-hmm. They're now average saying, 6.43. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see that cut, like you said, in the second quarter of 2025.
That's not as bullish as we wanted it to be and we thought it was going to be, but it's still going in the right direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looking at it a different way, we all love the down arrow when it comes to projections, actual mortgage rates. We want to see less.
We all want to see less.
We all want to see less. If you're refinancing your house, you're not going to do that with a really high unless you need to. You need to pull some money out.
Yeah.
So talk about what Bright MLS said. They're a large, broker or not brokerage, but listing service in the Northeast. And what are they saying?
Expect rates to come down in the second half of 2024, but remain above 6% this year. Even modest drop in rates will bring both more buyers and more sellers into the market. Absolutely true.
Yeah. And as we know, we're going to talk about, Southwest Florida here on the next slide after this. But as this mortgage rate goes up, from somewhere around 6.5, where it's, good buyer demand and below, to above where we were at, in the sevens, and we get up to weak buyer demand, we just see more months of inventory. We see a more balanced market, right? So as we look at Southwest Florida, and in general, before we kind of go down that path, we just had this stat Randy shared with us with one of our coaches who said that 78% of the people that bought their house in COVID were dissatisfied.
Especially if they were first-time home buyers, what they had to do in a competitive market to get a home. Some people were writing 10, 15, 20 offers, and just whoever accepted it.
Right.
So I believe that wholeheartedly. Sounds about right to me.
And in our area, didn't get down, didn't take a look at it.
Right.
Maybe now that they're here, they want something different, sort of thing. The next percentage, and I found this interesting, 56% of people that have their homes on the market actually have 3% or below mortgage rate.
And that has bogged things up from an inventory standpoint for a while now. But at some point, people are going to have to move for any number of reasons. And,
Right.
and all of them. But
That's right.
it will clean up a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when I look at median sales prices, Randy, here in our area, they're pretty stable. Marco Island's got up a little bit. These are annualized, so April over April. And, most of them, Cape Coral's, that are a little bit ticked down. Fort Myers is a little bit tick up. Naples is a little bit tick up. Our median sales prices are holding pretty firm.
When interest rates go up 4% in a very short time and the appreciation is still going up like that.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Imagine when they come back down, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Again.
It is going to be crazy again.
Yep.
Average days on market, they are going up because we were seeing 0, 1, 2, 5, 10. Now we're seeing, 78 in Marco, 66 in Naples. This is looking backwards at April data, 69 in Fort Myers and 71 in Cape Coral. And when you add that to the months of inventory, which, you start to look at these 4 major markets, and we're looking back to 19. So other than, Fort Myers and Cape Coral, there are less, maybe not a ton less of months of inventory in Naples and Marco, and a little bit more in Cape Coral and Fort Myers. But what that tells me is if we're somewhere in that 4 to 7 range of months of inventory, we're in a balanced market. The closer we get to 8 and above, that's a buyer's market. If we're under 4, we're a seller's market. So, there are a lot of things that we're looking at right now. I'd say we have inventory. The buyers have to feel comfortable with coming back into the market, that, they can always, what do you say? We can always refinance.
Every client that I get, this is a second home market. These are very smart people that have done very well in life, and they don't care about the interest rate. They across the board, give me the highest rate with the lowest cost. I'm going to refinance.
Right.
I want to get houses before it starts to go crazy again.
And 70% of our buyers are paying cash.
Yeah.
So, if it's time to move, whether you're buying or selling, we'd love to have those conversations with you, because at the end of the day, what you want to understand is how that impacts you and how we can help you get into your piece of paradise or on to the next. So until next time, I'm Mary Bartos with the Bartos Group at Premier Plus.
Randy Williams with TBF Mortgage.
Look forward to seeing you next month.